Emulation King is back, and today we're talking about emulating JRPGs from the PSP on the RG351MP on the emulator PPSSPP. So that's a lot of letters. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of JRPGs, and there's so many games I haven't played. I've only played just a small amount of them, and so with this device, I'm trying to go as crazy as I can and get all these games under my belt, which will take some time because a lot of these games, JRPGs, are not short. Anyway, it'll take a while, and that's perfectly fine. There's just never running out of stuff to play. And as you can see in my games list here, everything I got to run pretty well, except for two games in particular, which I'll talk about. But Final Fantasy, the first one, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 4, the After Years and Interlude. What else on here? Final Fantasy 7, the Crisis Core. I don't know if it's 7 or just called Crisis Core or whatever, but I know it's connected to 7. Anyway, that one runs pretty well. The Persona series runs well. I played Shin Megami 1 and 3, but haven't tested out 2 yet. Tactics Ogre runs pretty well. I had to configure that one some more. Frame rate issues, force a frame rate to 80, and I did some other stuff too. But after I did that, it ran pretty well. Ys is hit or miss, only for Ys Chronicles 1 and 2. Ys 7, you have to configure that too. So put the frame rate to 80, and I think keep the resolution at 2x. And I don't remember what else the other settings were, but after I did that, it ran pretty smooth. And then Ys, the Arc of Nepotistum, I think that's how you say it. I don't remember, but that ran pretty well too. I think out of the box, I don't know if I had to configure that one. Disgaea ran pretty well, no configuration needed. And so yeah, pretty much most of the Final Fantasy series I runs pretty well. The Persona series is there, Disgaea runs well, and of course your tactics games like Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics. And yeah, so Final Fantasy 2 does not run that well. It is playable, but lots of frame stutter. It's not that enjoyable, but it is possible to play it. And Ys Chronicles, as I said before, it just doesn't really play that well at all. I would just say it's unplayable. It's going from 20 frames down to 5 all the time, and the text that you have to read is extremely slow, and it's just not a good experience. And I don't understand why that is, because the other games in this series run well, just like Final Fantasy, the first one, the third one, and the fourth one run fantastic, but 2 just doesn't run that well, and I don't understand why. And I've messed around with the settings over and over again, and I can't get a smooth frame rate. And so yeah, the Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles and Final Fantasy 2 don't work that well, but you have a long list of games that run perfectly or run pretty well, just with some tweaking, and definitely worth playing. And I think with all these games being re-released and remastered and put on mobile platforms and all this kind of stuff, save yourself some bucks and just emulate them. Because a lot of these games were released in the PSP. Thinking about the Disgaea series, which is now on the Switch, and the Persona series is now on the Switch too. So yeah, you can play all these classic games right here for free. And so yeah, check out the gameplay footage that I captured for some of these games. And if you know any secret tips or tricks to get Chronicles running, Ys Chronicles or Final Fantasy 2, let me know. And any JRPGs that I don't have in this list, drop those in the comments, because I definitely want to check those out and play them. But yeah, so my hands are pretty full with these games, and it'll take several months or maybe a year to get through this entire catalog of stuff I've downloaded. And right now I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy 3, so I got about 4 hours into that game, and I love it a lot. I kind of love those the older Final Fantasy games more so than the new ones. It's more fantastical or fantasy-ish to me, because it's like kind of medieval settings and that kind of stuff, more so than the newer games. Like 13 and 7 and all that kind of stuff. I think 9 was back in those medieval-ish times. But anyway, that's also on my list too. There's so many games I have to play. But yeah, check out these games if you got a 351MP, and if you just want to emulate RPGs in the first place, check them out. You can play them on your computer, your Fire Stick, whatever. Emulation is the best. All right, see you in the next game-related video. Bye.